Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I am Jaime En Fuego, here to present a special encore presentation that originally in 2015 was seen on my then YouTube channel, Jaime En Fuego, which was for a program called ENFUEGOTAINMENT that is in the process of a relaunch. But we thought that for the month of October, the best thing that we could do was bring the entire series coverage of the 1980s and 90s Tales from the Crypt HBO television show over to the horror show, show it to a larger audience so that they can appreciate all of the hard work. Man, did I bust my ass for that month or so, getting every single one of the 93 episodes done and reviewed and spoken about. We did a little of my little trope at the time, which was Bueno, Malo, Feo, which is a good episode, a bad episode, and an ugly episode. I am taking these 3 at a time, and then also a special 3-episode final edition covering all 3 of the films. Yes, there are in fact 3 films. So join me here as we jump into a little bit of a horrific relic that I am very proud to show all of you guys. So until next time, stay scared.
Hola, Fright fans! This is Jaime En Fuego, and you are on ENFUEGOTAINMENT for the 21st installment of my October Tales from the Crypt coverage. That's right, and then not just any Tales from the Crypt coverage. We are talking the entire series, peeps, and I have been going 3 episodes a day, and in 31 days, I can cover all 93 episodes. It's mathematically magnificent, that's right. And this is the 21st installment, as I said, and here on ENFUEGOTAINMENT, what yours truly, Jaime En Fuego, likes to do is cover the Bueno, the Malo, and the Feo. And so I'm just gonna get right into the good episode, that's right. So then I will get to the bad, and then eventually to the ugly. But yeah, so starting with the good episode today on our 21st installment, we have something called Creep Course. Yes, Creep Course, that's right, man. And this one was actually, it's interesting because it's another of these episodes that I saw as a kid, and I must admit, I was just like, this is just okay. I can't say that I absolutely loved it, but revisiting it, as I have been revisiting many of these, I actually came to conclude pretty damn good episode. First off, you've got a little nerd girl played by Nina Simasco. Yeah, I'm probably totally butchering your name, Grillian, and I do apologize. And yeah, she's got like the big glasses, and she's the total like bookworm type, but in all honesty, most people remember her from all those crazy Zalman King stuff she did, like the Red Shoe Diaries and Wild Orchid 2. But in any event, so her character is in this Egyptian history class, and her professor is played by Jeffrey Jones, man. And everybody thinks of Jeffrey Jones from like Amadeus and Beetlejuice and, you know, probably Ferris Bueller, but for me, I think of him from all the rad period pieces I've seen him in that were a little more of the scarific variety. Like, I loved him in Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. I thought he was exceptional in The Crucible with Winona Ryder. And then, who can forget, Ravenous, man. I speak the praises of that film constantly, one of my favorite cannibal movies ever. And if you're thinking good cannibal movies, be sure to check out Bone Tomahawk. We actually got to see that just this past fall for the horror show, and it's incredible. But I divert from the cause. So Jeffrey Jones is her professor, and there is a jock played by Anthony Michael Hall. Yeah, I said that right. A jock played by Anthony Michael Hall. Really kind of weird after, you know, Weird Science and that. Weird after Weird Science, you get that? But yeah. Kind of strange after The Breakfast Club and, you know, those Hughes movies and stuff in the 80s where he was totally nerdtastic, and then he's trying to be like the dumb jock in this. I don't know. It was definitely the opposite of his typecasting for a while, but then again, you have to remember, this is like 93 and things are changing up a little bit. So, and yeah, he did definitely change his whole thing when he started doing the Dead Zone. I think that's what cemented him as being something different. So, yeah, another big positive, another big bueno to mention from this episode, besides the fact that you've got some good acting talent in it, like I just mentioned, it is directed and written by Jeffrey Boehm, and this guy had his fingerprints on some awesomeness in the 80s, man. I mean, on the non-horror side of things, he did Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is, I mean, what can you say about all 3 indie movies? They're all so tremendous, but he also did some rad spooktacular stuff. Like, he co-wrote the Lost Boys script. He wrote the Dead Zone script. Yeah, we were just talking about the Dead Zone. Yeah, this is the David Cronenberg film, though, that was, you know, based on the Stephen King book that eventually inspired the series that Mr. Anthony Michael Hall eventually ended up acting in years later. But yeah, masterfully written, masterfully directed. I mean, and the acting, the chemistry, especially between the three leads, is all really good. It's just, man, the whole Egyptian concept thing. Basically, a twist comes. It involves I guess a replica kind of sarcophagus, a replica tomb, and a bunch of artifacts and stuff. And I don't want to really give it away because this is a non-spoilers review, but it's pretty top-notch, I gotta say. So yes, Creep Course was creeptastic, my friends, to conjure some John Kassir there. And to talk some John Kassir, we actually get to mention him in our next episode, which unfortunately is the MALO episode. And it's called Oil's Well That Ends Well. That's right, yeah, Oil's Well That Ends Well. So cleverly titled, as many of these Tales from the Crypt episodes are. This one had Priscilla Presley in it. You remember her, yeah, the little underager that Elvis got his hands on and allegedly waited till marriage for. Yeah, I highly doubt that there, Mr. King, man. But hey, Elvis is forgiven, man. You know, it's just like that episode of South Park where they're like, you know, he's Michael Jackson, so what if he touched a couple of children? He's Michael Jackson, you know? So, yeah, that's all in jest. I don't really mean that. But, yeah, seriously, you got Priscilla Presley in there, and she is opposite Lou Diamond Phillips, who I always think of from, like, Young Guns and La Bamba. He was great in those, man. And the big hit, which I bet nobody thinks of when they think Lou Diamond Phillips, you know, where he was opposite Marky Mark and they're like Hitman and stuff. That's an awesome movie. Not scary, but still totally awesome. And they're basically kind of cons, and they're trying to, you know, convince these guys to buy a plot, like a plot of land that has a graveyard on it that's supposedly got some oil under it, and they're trying to swindle these guys into buying it. But yeah, the interesting thing is you've got John Kassir in it. He's got kind of a cameo as one of their partners early on in the film, and you know, he's talking in cool voices and stuff. And I gotta say, even though this is a MALO episode because the payoff sucks and I just thought the story was kind of you know, it's definitely the MALO for a reason today, but I'd say a bueno within the MALO was definitely Mr. John Kassir, because I thought he owned the screen. And it's funny because voicing the Crypt Keeper and stuff like that, a lot of voice actors you wouldn't necessarily think would be able to command the screen, and yet he just chewed up all the scenery when he was on. I mean, it was great. So, yeah. Props to you, Mr. John Kassir. You did mention this episode also when we were talking best Tales from the Crypt episodes ever, or at least your favorite, so I wonder why it would be a favorite. And this is one, once again, written by Mr. Scott Nimmerfro. Yeah, he's a guy that, hey, he's kind of a go-to at this point, you know, I guess, you know, Gilbert Adler, who's pretty much, I'm assuming, the showrunner at this point in the 5th season of Tales from the Crypt. He's the producer on every episode and stuff. I would bet, you know, he's like, hey man, you're a go-to, because he just received a bunch of acclaim in this season for People Who Live in Brass Hearses, which was the one with Bill Paxton and Brad Dourif, which, man, it was my MALO. I didn't think it was that good, but hey, it got a lot of accolades. And then also he did Werewolf Concerto in the 4th season. That was a killer episode, man. So you got Nimmerfro back, and you know, as I said, man, it's just a MALO episode because the payoff was, I can't spoil it, but I didn't like it. There was a couple interesting twists, but you know, it just this one didn't do it for me. Not an atrocious, you know, mess like I've seen on a couple of the MALO episodes, but still, once again, not that memorable. So now we're gonna get to the Feo episode today. That's right, and this one is called Came the Dawn, and it was directed by a guy named Uli Edel, or Edel, I don't know. He's a German filmmaker who did some really crazy, almost like borderline exploitation stuff. Like the early 80s, he did this film, I believe it was Christie something. It's about, and that's just the crazy, you know, American translation for it. But it was about this girl in the 70s and, you know, the drug communities and stuff like that. And she's doing angel dust and heroin, and that's really crazy. And then he went on to do Last Exit to Brooklyn and Body of Evidence. At least Last Exit to Brooklyn, you know, Jennifer Jason Leigh. It's like about prostitutes and, you know, all kinds of wacky people in this area of Brooklyn. You know, that one at least was considered way better despite the exploitive nature of it, in contrast with Body of Evidence, which had Madonna in it. And, you know, everyone's just like, Madonna can't act. Stop acting, Madonna. You suck. So yeah, I'm not sure why he was chosen to do this particular episode. Maybe because it's got Brooke Shields in the lead, and Brooke Shields is a woman who breaks down, and her truck is on the side of the road, and this dude is, you know, cruising down the highway, and he sees her and he picks her up, and he's, you know, he seems kind of slimy. You get that vibe from him, and he's like going to buy oysters and champagne for this woman that he just met on the side of the road, and he's like, hey, there's nowhere I can take you right now, you know, come back to my cabin with me, and so on and so forth. And it's just kind of funny. Brooke Shields, I always laugh, you know, because she's been kind of slurring it up since she pulled a Jodie Foster, you know, and did that Pretty Baby movie, and, you know, then she did Blue Lagoon, and I think she was like, I don't even know if she was a teenager. I think she was like 14 for Blue Lagoon. But yeah, in any event, this was when she was trying to make like her acting resurgence, because she took all those years off to go to, I think it was Princeton, and study like French literature or something after her modeling career ended and she stopped acting. And so this is 93. This is when she was kind of trying to get back into it. And I gotta say, the girl has got some acting chops, you know, and, you know, the whole scenario, there's a lot that I can't mention to you, which is why this is the Feo episode. But yeah, there's axes, there's, you know, people not being exactly who they seem, you know, on both ends, both Brooke's end and on this guy's end. And, you know, he's not a noteworthy actor, so I'm not going to really mention too much about him. But yeah, the twist is most def Feo, and yeah, just some of the shifting character dynamics and whatnot, and everybody not being who they seem to be. Yeah, there's definitely a Feo aspect about stuff there. So yeah, in any event, I'm gonna leave it at that for you guys today, and mention, I had a lot of fun with all of these episodes. And, you know, Oil's Well That Ends Well, it's not an awful episode. It's just very much the ilk of Tales from the Crypt episode that I just can't get into, because it didn't go where I was hoping, it didn't go where I thought, and I thought it was slightly predictable until the very end. But yeah, the other two I can most definitely recommend. They're intriguing. Creep Course, the Bueno, and Came the Dawn, the Feo, are both definitely worth watching. So yeah, I've been Jaime En Fuego. You can catch me covering all things spooktacular when I'm not here on ENFUEGOTAINMENT on the horrorshowchannel.com, just like you're seeing it spelled below. And then I, Jaime En Fuego, can always be found just at Jaime En Fuego, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, where you're watching me here. So I extend a grande gracias once more. This has been the 21st segment of my Tales from the Crypt coverage, and I have much more coming in these coming days as we approach Halloween, guys. So until then, adios, amigos.